What you're about to hear is the effects of what a good habit can do in your life versus what a bad habit can do in your life. We're at episode 1920 with Dave Portnoy, Joe Rogan Experience. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want the absolute best insights to the podcast you love, you're in the right place. And the next step is to smash that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
I've never done it, but I had a friend in high school, and his cousin was addicted to coke. And this was like this was a formative period of my life when I was doing martial arts. And for the longest time, like from age 15 to 21, I did no partying. All I did was train. I mean, I trained every day. I ate clean. I slept well.
How old were you?
15 to 21. From 15 to 21. Those were like, high school.
How'd you get into that?
Well, I was bullied like most people. I didn't know how to fight. I was scared. And I was like, I need to learn how to fight. And I joined a martial arts school, and I just got obsessed with it.
Because that's early. Like that, the reason I'm asking, that's before the trend of MMA.
Yeah, but martial arts had always been around. And, I was a big Bruce Lee fan, Chuck Norris fan. Watched a bunch of those movies and shit. And God, man, amazing to do that. How cool would it be to be able to do that? And then I watched a bunch of kickboxing matches, and I got into it. And then coming home from a Red Sox game, it's a crazy story. I would already been taking karate a little bit, but it was too far from my house. It was hard to get there. My parents didn't want to drive me. And this place was right off the tee. So I was at Fenway Park with a buddy of mine, went to see a baseball game, and then I was like 14 or 15. And when we were walking home from the baseball game, there was so many people waiting in line for the tee. You know how it is after the game.
Yeah.
So we decided to just fucking walk upstairs and see what this Taekwondo school was all about. And as I was walking up the stairs, I was hearing this sound, and it was like, whoomp, ka-chink, like it was whoomp, ka-chink. And what it was this guy kicking this heavy bag, and the bag was flying, and the ka-chink was the chains that was holding the bag. And I got up there at the top of the stairs and watched this guy, John Lee, who was the national champion, who was training for the World Cup. So he's at his peak of training. And he was doing a spinning back kick over and over again into this heavy bag. And I remember watching it, and I could not believe what he could do. I couldn't believe the power that this guy could generate in that kick. And he became like a mentor to me. And this guy who was like this wild street guy from Chelsea, Massachusetts, who was this elite Taekwondo fighter, like he wasn't like, like bow, like he was like, hey, what's up, man? What the fuck you doing, man? He was a funny dude. He would like eat food right before he fought. Fuck these people, man. I'm gonna fuck these dudes up. He was a street guy who was really good at martial arts. I mean, he bowed and said yes, sir, to everybody and all that stuff. But when people were not around, he was just cool. He was hanging out. He had drug problems. There was a lot going on. But in that moment where I saw him, he was 27 years old. He was in the prime of his career, and he was the elite of the elite.
And that's how you got hooked.
I got hooked, line, and sinker. I went there the next day. I signed up, and I was there every fucking day, every day. Yeah, I became obsessed.
Interesting.
So I didn't want to do anything that fucked me up. And my friend Jimmy, his cousin, was selling coke. And I knew his cousin Mike from like when he wasn't selling coke. Like he was a mechanic, he's a cool guy, fixed my car for me. He was a fucking guy from the neighborhood. We hang out with him. And then him and his girl got into coke bad. He was selling coke. And then he was just emaciated. He looked like he got bit by a vampire. And they would hide they had an attic apartment. They would just go in that attic apartment and do coke every day. And I was like, fuck coke.
That's hardcore to get like hooked like that.
He got hooked. Well, he was also selling it.
Yeah.
So he had all this access to coke. But it was people in the neighborhood. I saw them doing coke, and they just wanted to do coke all the time. They wanted to get out and do coke. And as a kid who was like finally, I was a loser my whole life. And then finally when I was 15, I found this thing that I got obsessed with that changed the way people looked at me. Like all of a sudden I was good at something, like really good at something. And then I became state champion 4 years in a row, and I won the U.S. Open, and I won these national tournaments, and it was a big fucking deal for me. So I was like, I am not doing anything that jeopardizes that.
Right.
And coke to me was the big one. Like I knew that was it. I feel like if I got drunk, in which I did occasionally, I would feel like shit the next day. I couldn't train well. I was hungover, and I'd get beat up in sparring. I was like, I can't do this. So I just cut most partying. Like, I smoked pot a handful of times. I got drunk a handful of times during high school and in my early 20s. And then I just, in the comedy world, coke was a problem with there too. I saw when I used to work at Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston.
Yeah, sure.
And they offered to pay me in coke or money. Like, when you work there for a weekend, like, you want to get paid in coke or you want to get paid in money?
And even trade, like same amount of coke, the dollar
some guys
value.
went half. Yeah, some guys went half.
I guess if you like it, it's easy access.
There were so many guys that got hooked on coke. I knew so many guys that had coke problems that I was like, that is a pitfall. Like, I wanted to succeed. And I felt like that was one, and also it was a drug that got you hyped up. And I liked being hyped up. And my friend Jimmy said this to me, he goes, don't do coke, you'll like it. I was like, oh, no. I'll never forget this. It was me and my friend Steve. We were driving home from Kelly's Roast Beef in Revere, Massachusetts.
Yep.
And we're
overrated.
Yeah, it's a little overrated.
The beef is, but
yeah, the clams are pretty good.
Yeah.
So we were driving, and there was a car next to us, and they had the dome light on, and there was a girl in the back seat doing blow off a mirror. So she's there doing blow, and she looks over at us, and I'm looking over to her, and she goes, just for no reason. Yeah. Just fuck you.
I mean, that's Revere Beach.
But that's coke, too.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's the reason I said at the beginning of this clip that this was like a bad habit versus a good habit, you know? Like, this guy, and how important it is to find good things, to not only find good habits that make you take on other good habits, right? So, like, the reason that he was eating clean and staying sober for the most part was because of this good, amazing habit of martial arts, right? So it's like, find a habit that makes you have other good habits. Like, you have to, in order to maintain one habit. It's so good. It like acts like a chain. He stayed sober, ate clean because he wanted to do martial arts. It's perfect. And then the bad habit is obviously the people around him who were doing coke. And shout out to him for staying clean from 15 to 21, because 15 to 21 for me, I was doing drugs every day. I was that guy that he talks about, that guy Mike, like just doing drugs every day, literally with a girlfriend, running off to a room to do drugs every day. Every day. That's what I did. It was really bad. But you can see what happens to somebody when they have a good habit, a solid good habit. And then you see what happens to somebody when they have a really bad habit. It's an upward spiral and a downward spiral. He literally stayed clean and kept getting better and better and better at martial arts, to the point where he was winning tournaments. He won the US. He was state champion a couple times, Joe Rogan. He won the US Open, I think once, in Taekwondo. Like, incredible. Meanwhile, this other guy who took on this bad habit, Mike, he just kept on doing coke. He got emaciated, like he said, looked like he got bitten by a vampire, and his life just went downhill and downhill and downhill. And I think he even told a story about how that guy died. I'm pretty sure in other podcasts he's talked about that same guy, and I think he died. I think. But it's wild. It's wild what a good habit can do for you. It can keep you clean. It can keep you sober. It can make you fit. It's so important to find good habits. Good habits. Because a bad habit will be your absolute downfall in life. And I invite you to just think about what the best habits you are, the best habits you have. I've said this before in a video. Think about the best habits you have. Think about the habits that you want. And then think about your bad habits. And just try and walk away from the bad habits as much as possible, and walk into the good habits, and walk into the habits you want as much as possible. That's it. It's very simple. It feels hard as you're doing it because bad habits have such a pull on you. But if you'll just submit, I've talked about this before as well, if you just submit to what it takes to have the good habits, they will start to have a pull on you as well. And they will keep you away from all the negativity in life. They'll keep you away from all the bad habits in life. And they'll bring you up and up and up to this person that you never thought you could be. It's so essential in life. I mean, from 15 to 21, he stayed clean. Again, I'll say it again. He was winning tournaments. He won the US Open. This is a complete athlete. Everybody knows about the legendary spinning back kick that Joe Rogan has. Get inspired. He found somebody that he was inspired by. The guy was cool. Even though he had drug problems, he was cool. He was really good at martial arts. He emulated the parts of him that were really good, and he got good as well. And then when he saw that guy doing the coke, had that bad habit, instead of emulating that guy, he learned from that guy. He learned to stay away from coke because of what that guy was going through. You have the exact same examples in your life. We got the internet today. You can't tell me you don't have examples of good people in your life, because you just have to search. You can literally write good example of a man. And I need five people. You can go to GPT. I keep saying it wrong. But you can go to that chat thing and say, can you list 5 men who are good examples of a strong, healthy man? And it'll be like, okay, here you go. Like, bang, done. And you know who the bad people are. You know what the bad habits are. You know what the negative people look like. Learn from those people with the negative bad habits. Emulate the people with the good habits. That's it. Just do that every single day, and your whole life will change. If you're in a place right now where you feel like things are shit, that's how you get them better. Look at the worst examples of people. Learn from that. Learn from it. Move away from it. Find the best people in your life. Learn from it. Move towards it. It's a simple equation. I'm out. Peace.